Many people knew Alan Canfora better than I did, but my encounters with Alan were always profound, and they left me with a better understanding of the depth and breadth of this individual, whose life was marked by the dogged pursuit of truth, even though, at many points, this pursuit sparked misguided attacks that no doubt caused him great pain. One encounter with Alan stands out in my mind. The encounter I have in mind was a brief tour of the May 4th site with Alan so that he could point out which trees were there on the day of the shooting and which trees were not and had been planted in subsequent years. The tour ended with Alan hugging one particular tree and his noting that this tree had saved his life that day. A wounded student plaque with Alan's name now rests at the base of this tree, and each time I see the tree, I am reminded of Alan and of his pursuit of truth and justice. Today we honor and remember Alan for his commitment to keeping the lessons of May 4, 1970 alive and relevant. Today, we remember a friend, a graduate of Kent State, a father, a civic leader who was never afraid to challenge misinformation, no matter what pressure was brought to bear upon him and his family. We will always remember the lessons of May 4th, 1970, and we will always remember Alan Canfora.
I have one final pleasure here today, and that is to introduce the next speaker. We have been friends for 22 years, have been through a great deal together. Please give him a nice round of applause and warm greeting, Alan Canfora.
I remember the moment that I met Alan Canfora very well, and of course was always lodged in his memory as well. I had just moved into the dorm that day and brought up several crates of records and brought a portable record player with me. And I was playing John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, the first album that featured Eric Clapton on lead guitar. And Alan could hear the music even several rooms down. Our dorm rooms were separated by one or two other rooms. But I must have been playing the music fairly loud. And if it bothered some people, it attracted Alan. And we became fast friends, discovering not only this passion that the two of us had for rock and roll music, but also for politics and just the whole mood of the times. We were very much in sync.
But in my first political science class, after only about a month, the discussions every day turned to the war, and pretty soon one day a student stood up and said, "Well, everybody in our class, of course, is opposed to the war in Vietnam." And then I had to, from that moment on, start to think about whether or not the war was a legitimate war, or whether it was immoral and unjustifiable, as most of my classmates had felt. So I started to investigate the war issue and consider all of the complicated aspects, and sure enough, I came to see the war was wrong.
The first time we met, I don't exactly remember when it was. My memory goes back to 1975 when we got together prior to our civil trial. We met our legal team, which was like a whole batch of lawyers, at a hotel in Cleveland. And the lead attorney, Joe Kellner, called me up to the front and he said, hi, he introduced himself and told me his role, and he suggested that I get a haircut. And, you know, I said, I just cut off my ponytail. And he said, well, you're gonna need to cut it a little shorter than that. And so I did. But Alan, you know, he gave the same advice to all of us. And Alan didn't want to cut his hair. So Alan bought a short hair wig. And he put that on over his ponytail and wore it in the courtroom day after day. And from behind him, we could occasionally see wisps of hair slaying down his back. And so that was a pretty comical side of a very serious man.
One student ventured closer, that's me, waving my black flag. That's all I was doing. I didn't think I was any kind of a threat to these guardsmen. At this point, they were about 150 feet away. The guardsmen are kneeling, they're aiming. 3 of the guardsmen are aiming at me in particular. At that moment, I thought my life was in danger. I knew I was risking my life, but I thought that if I wanted to make my most powerful stand, that I would stand my ground, and that's what I did.
We kind of see Alan for the first time waving a black flag with long hair, and we maybe form opinions about him being a radical and working outside the system. And when we see Alan's life after May 4th, he got involved in politics. He ran for office and he held some various political positions. So Alan, I think, worked very much within the political system to make change.
I don't think anybody did more to disseminate knowledge about the fatal shootings than Alan Canfora. And he played a founding role in the creation of the May 4th Task Force, along with the late Robbie Stamps and Dean Kaler.
I'd like to thank the members of the May 4th Task Force, first of all, for organizing not only this program, but I think what's going to end up being the most significant May 4th commemoration in 30 years on Thursday of this week. I hope people will continue to come to the task force programs. They meet every week from September until May. It's like they're having a baby every year. They do this for 9 months. And I think they really deserve the credit.
I think that we have a lot to learn from Alan, just like we have a lot to learn from the activists that participated in direct action after the Kent State shootings. He knew that if he and his peers didn't stand up, the government would sweep that event under the rug. And so he did his best to make sure that there was an organization and an initiative to continue remembering the 4 students that died.
Well, you know, I was one of the students that was shot and wounded. I had a bullet that passed through my right wrist. I did shed my blood here, and down through the years, I've worked with other wounded students and the mothers and fathers of the victims. We were all bonded together as one big family in a long-standing court case during the 1970s. We became determined to work for truth and for justice. And we've worked down through the years trying to raise awareness and trying to keep this issue alive as a tribute to the 4 students who were killed here.
And I can't tell you how sad I was when I found out that he had passed away. For him and his family and all of us who lost such a leader, such a caring, impassioned person who, you know, who framed the whole Kent State shooting in ways that I thought of but never could express.
He was, as the photograph of him on May 4th that John Philo felt up until the time that he took the one that won the Pulitzer Prize. The photo that he took of Alan waving the black flag shows the kind of bravery that he had. No one else would approach the National Guard as close as Alan would. So he clearly had a fearless streak, and he also had a knack for calculated risk. If he ever backed down, he backed down to very few. I don't ever recall him backing down to anyone.
And I think that we owe this to them so that we can say that forever, long after we're gone, there will stand a permanent and proper tribute and stand as a reminder of the wrongfulness of excessive force here at Kent State. And in conclusion, in addition to this memorial, I just want to say again, the best kind of a possible lasting memorial tribute is the continuation of the student movement that they died for in 1970.